Victor and Lola had been together long before Amina Salami entered the picture. For 12 years, they were not just lovers, they were partners in deception. What they shared wasn't just romance, it was a carefully perfected scam. Over the years, they mastered the act of love bombing unsuspecting victims, studying emotions, weaknesses, and loneliness like a science. They would move from one state to the other, Ibadan, Enugu, Asaba, Akure, never staying too long in one place. Once the money was gone, so were they. New names, new stories, new targets. To the outside world, they looked like an ordinary couple chasing opportunity, but in reality, they were predators hunting emotional trust. Their pattern never changed. Lola would identify the targets, usually successful women who looked confident on the outside but carried loneliness within. Victor would then play the hero. Sometimes, he pretended to be struggling. Other times, he posed as dependable and selfless. He knew how to say the right words, how to show up at the perfect moment, how to look like destiny instead of danger. Lola stayed in the background, playing the sister, the cousin, or the old friend, waiting patiently while Victor sealed emotional control. By the time the victim realized what was happening, it was too late. Bank accounts were empty, businesses transferred, trust destroyed. They had escaped justice many times. Police reports were filed in different states, but names never matched, faces changed, stories didn't connect. The system was slow, and Victor and Lola were fast. Over the years, greed grew louder inside them. Small scams were no longer enough. They wanted something bigger, permanent, something that wouldn't require running again. They wanted a victim so wealthy and powerful that one final strike would set them up for life. That was when Lola discovered Amina Salami, the self-made billionaire CEO who believed in love more than fear. To Victor and Lola, Amina was not a woman, she was a project. They studied her interviews, her lifestyle, her habits. They noticed how she drove herself, avoided bodyguards, and spoke about independence and genuine connection. Lola smiled when she saw it. She's perfect, she said. Lonely, kind, guard down. Victor agreed. The plan this time had to be flawless. No rushed escape, no quick theft. This time, they would embed themselves deep into her heart, into her home, and her business. Marriage wasn't a risk, it was the strategy. So when Victor stood on Third Mainland Bridge that rainy night, holding a rod and chasing away hoodlums, it was not bravery, it was rehearsal. Every step had been calculated, every word planned. And now, months later, as Amina lay silent and blind in her own house, Victor and Lola believed they were finally approaching the final stage of their greatest scam. What they did not know was that for the first time in 12 years, the victim they underestimated was watching them back. Victor had indeed changed since the accident. His tone around Amina was different now, less gentle, more careless. He stopped pretending to care so much. He answered phone calls beside her bed, believing she couldn't hear a thing. He spoke casually about money, schedules, and meetings she no longer attended. Sometimes another voice joins the conversation, a female voice, the one with the familiar perfume, confidently laughing like she owned the house. Amina's fingers clenched each time she heard it, but she never moved. One afternoon, while trying to nap, Amina started hearing sounds. She opened her eyes slightly, and what she saw shattered her completely. Victor was standing very close to Lola in the living room, his hands on her waist. Lola laughed softly and leaned in. They kissed. Not hurried, not guilty, not the type permitted between a brother and a sister. They kissed comfortably, like two people in love. This was not a new affair. This was routine. Amina's heart almost stopped. Her vision blurred again, but she forced herself to keep watching. She needed to see the truth clearly. Shock numbed her body. Lola was never his sister. She was his longtime lover, long before Amina entered the picture. Victor touched Lola like someone who belonged to him. Lola spoke to him like a woman secure in her position. They didn't hide. They didn't whisper. They believed Amina was blind, deaf, and broken. That belief gave them confidence. That confidence gave Amina truth. As days passed, Amina heard everything, every laughter, every wicked plan. Victor and Lola spoke freely about her money, her company, and her future, without shame. Lola complained about how long Victor was taking. It was clear she could no longer wait to take over what she believed was already hers. Victor assured her that everything was almost in place. He said Amina's condition was perfect timing. Each word pierced Amina deeper than knives. Then came the conversation that destroyed every remaining illusion. Victor told Lola the truth about how he had met Amina. That night at traffic, it was staged. He had tracked Amina's movement. The hoodlums were paid. Victor was the hero by design. From the very beginning, Amina was a target, not a miracle. Victor laughed as he explained the long plan. They studied her the way a hunter studied its prey, her loneliness, her routines, and hunger for genuine love. Marriage was never the goal. It was the vehicle. Lola had always been there, but had stayed patient, waiting for the harvest. Amina felt sick hearing the truth. Every memory she cherished was poisoned. Every smile, every assurance, every sacrifice was fake. A few days later, Victor and Lola started discussing the final phase, how they would start adjusting her medication gradually, making her health decline quietly so they can declare her mentally unstable. Lola asked how long it would take to fully control the company. Victor said, very soon. Lagos will pity her for a while. Then they will forget her and accept me as the devoted partner. That night, Amina cried silently. Something colder than pain settled inside her. It was a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, deceit, and betrayal battled inside her chest. But in all of this, the one thing that remained was clarity. She realized that love didn't save her. Silence did. If she had spoken too early, she would be dead. If she had trusted too much, she would be erased. In the darkness of her room, Amina made a promise to herself. She would not confront them. She would not run. She would finish what they had started, but on her own terms. The woman they thought was helpless was about to become their greatest mistake. From that night onward, Amina became two people in the same body. On the outside, she remained the fragile woman everyone pitied, silent, unmoving, broken by trauma. But inside, her mind worked day and night. Every word Victor and Lola spoke confirmed what she already knew. They underestimated her. They believed blindness made her foolish and silence made her empty. Their assumption was their greatest weakness. Amina decided she would not rush. No confrontation, no emotional outburst. She understood something very important. People who plan evil always become careless when they believe they are winning. Whenever Victor was away, Amina slowly began making moves to protect herself. She contacted only two people she trusted completely, her personal lawyer and one senior board member who had known her long before the company became successful. She acted carefully so Victor would never suspect. Through coded conversations and secured lines, Amina began restructuring her empire silently. Accounts Victor never knew existed were activated. Emergency clauses she had signed years ago were triggered. What Victor thought he was gradually taking over was already slipping away from his reach. Unaware of Amina's moves, Victor grew bolder. He walked around the house with confidence now. He stopped hiding Lola's presence. She spent nights over, laughing loudly, cooking in Amina's kitchen, sitting on Amina's furniture like she already owned everything. Sometimes, after the maid served Amina's food, Lola would add more salt into it and laugh out loud when Amina spits it out in surprise. Other times, she would stand close to Amina and whisper insults in her ears, enjoying the power she thought she had. Amina heard it all, but she stayed quiet. It was clear that some people enjoyed cruel victories even more than money itself. A month after, Victor came to Amina's room with excitement one evening. He spoke loudly in happiness about a board meeting that had been called. He said investors wanted to manage things better since she was no longer capable. He spoke in excitement despite thinking she could neither see nor hear. For him, this will be the day that the leadership of the company is finally handed over to him. He did not know that Amina was the brain behind the meeting. On the outside, she acted confused, pretending not to understand, but inside, she smiled for the first time in months. Everything was going exactly where she wanted it. The meeting would not be Victor's victory, it would be his exposure. The day of the board meeting arrived with great celebration in Victor's mind. Lola wore an expensive dress, already imagining life as a billionaire wife. Victor practiced speeches in front of the mirror, perfecting the role of his suffering husband turned leader. Media invitations had been sent. The public loved stories of resilience and tragedy. Victor believed the world would applaud him for stepping up. He never imagined that the world would witness his downfall instead. Amina was wheeled into the boardroom last. Dark glasses, calm face, still body. Executives stood up respectfully, pity in their eyes. Victor took his place confidently at the podium, thanking everyone for their support during this difficult season. He spoke about responsibility, sacrifice, and leadership, but every word sounded fake to Amina now. Lola sat quietly at the back, smiling proudly. No one noticed Amina's fingers tighten around the armrest. As soon as Victor was about to announce the transfer of leadership, Amina raised her hand slightly. The room murmured in confusion. Victor laughed nervously, wondering why her hand was raised. Then, Amina did something no one expected. She stood up, on her own. Gasps filled the room. She removed her dark glasses slowly and looked directly at Victor. Her eyes were clear, focused, alive. In that second, Victor understood. Everything was over. Amina spoke calmly, her voice steady. She said, "Victor, you assumed trauma made me useless. You assumed silence meant ignorance." The room froze. Camera zoomed in. She continued, "I heard you plan my death. I heard you laugh about my pain. And today, everyone will hear you too." Victor stumbled backwards. Lola tried to stand, but she froze. Fear replaced confidence instantly. The screens behind the boardroom lit up. Audio recordings played clearly. Victor's voice filled the room, explaining the plan to poison Amina, the fake love, the staged robbery, and the stolen trust. Videos showed Lola mocking Amina, calling her blind and finished. Board members covered their mouths in shock. Investors stared in disbelief. The world was watching live. There was nowhere to hide. Police officers entered swiftly. One approached Victor. Handcuffs clicked loudly in the silent boardroom. Another officer moved towards Lola, who began screaming that it was all lies. The lawyer who had been involved in the evil plan tried to leave, but he was stopped. The truth had come to run its course, and justice had arrived quietly. Victor dropped to his knees in shame. He looked up at Amina and whispered, "I thought you couldn't hear." Amina looked at him with sadness, not anger, and said, "I couldn't hear at first, but my ears opened when it mattered the most." Those words hit harder than any insult. News exploded across Nigeria within minutes. Headlines screamed of betrayal, intelligence, survival. Social media argued endlessly. Some praised Amina's strength, some questioned Victor's evil. Amina avoided interviews. She didn't need public validation. She already had something greater, her freedom. Months later, Victor and Lola were sentenced for conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. The court showed no mercy. Every asset they touched was confiscated. The house they once celebrated in was no longer theirs. Power left them the same way it came, quickly. Amina returned fully to her role as CEO, stronger than before. She revised company policies, empowered young women, and established a foundation for trauma survivors. She turned pain into protection, not just for herself, but for others like her. Late one evening, standing alone in her office, overlooking the Lagos lights, Amina reflected on everything. Love didn't save her. Loudness didn't save her. Revenge didn't save her. Patience did. Awareness did. And silence did. And so, Amina learned the lesson she would never forget. Sometimes, the people who appear to rescue you are the ones planning your downfall. And sometimes, the quietest person in the room is not the weakest. She is just waiting for the right time to speak.